Shalom, I'm Rabbi Feigelson, and I'm a visiting lecturer here at Trisha. The parasha that I want to address today is the last parasha of Sefer Matot-Masei. And the way I'm going to do that is actually look at the opening and closing of each of the psukim of each of the chumashim. Because the question I want to ask is, what are we left with? This week's parasha will leave us really at the end of the Torah. If Sefer Dvarim is a restatement of what was, then the last pasuk of the last parasha of Sefer Bamidbar leaves us where God wants us to be at the end, in the last moment. What are those closing words? Therefore, the way I'd like to address it is to look at the opening and closing pasuk of each one of the 5 chumashim to ask us what is being presented to us. When looking at Bereshit, many of us have been coined to not even think to be able to say Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim et haaretz v'aretz haya tohu v'vohu v'choshech al pnei tehom and so on. In the beginning, or in Reshit, depending on which commentary you're looking to understand what that word is. With Reshit, in Reshit, because of Reshit, what is the first? What is the head? In the beginning, God created, we'll hold on to that, with Reshit, God created heaven and earth. The last pasuk of Sefer Bereshit, וימות יוסף בן 110 שנים, ויחנתו אותו וישם בארון במצרים. In the last pasuk, Yosef dies, and he is placed in a aron, in a coffin, in Mitzrayim. Sefer Bereshit starts with Bereshit bara Elokim, an infinite, becoming finite. Bereshit bara Elokim, in the beginning God creates. And Sefer Bereshit brings us to Ba'aron b'Mitzrayim, in a coffin, in Egypt. The darkness of the darkness. We start with the infinite potential moment of creation to the infinite and finiteness of limitations. A coffin in Egypt. Sefer Shmot, ve'ele Shmot b'nei Yisrael haba'im Mitzrayim. These are the names of the children of Israel that come to Mitzrayim. Therefore, honestly, Shmot, I would translate it as the book of names, not the book of Exodus, the book of names. We start with Eile Shmot b'nei Yisrael, and where we're left at the end of Sefer Shmot really is interesting enough, is Maseihem, the last pasuk of Sefer Shmot. Ki anan Hashem al hamishkan yomam va'esh tiya bo le'nei kol beit Yisrael b'chol Maseihem. God's cloud upon the Mishkan, the eyes of the children of Israel in all of our journeys. So Sefer Shmot begins with names, Shemot. Who do you belong to? Where do you come from? And leads us to B'chol Maseihem, on our journeys. Sefer Vayikra, Vayikra Hashem and Moshe v'yitaber elav me'ohel moed limor. We may have finished a moment ago in journeys, but we're starting again in Ohel Moed. And we're called from Ohel Moed. Again, the book of Vayikra, I would call it the book of calling. Not Leviticus, but the book of calling. And where Vayikra leaves us is Har Sinai. אלה המצוות אשר ציווה השם את משה אל בני ישראל בהר סיני. We start in Ohel Moed, and we end in the desert, Har Sinai. But we also know, when we think of Har Sinai, we think of Matan Torah. That is the image that we have when we hear of Har Sinai. What happened in Har Sinai? Where were we at Har Sinai? How did we experience Har Sinai? Bamidbar begins with וידבר השם משה במדבר סיני באוהל מועד באחד החודש השני בשנה השנית לצאתם מארץ מצרים. Here we are in the desert. And again, Bamidbar, I wouldn't call it the book of Numbers. I'd call it the book of the desert. The book of Reshit, the book of names, the book of calling, the book of desert. We start in the desert, Bamidbar, and we end this week's parasha. Avot Moav al Yarden Yericho. We're at the outskirts of Avot Yericho. We can see it, and we're not there. I want to take a moment to look into next week's Sefer that we're going to start. Sefer Dvarim begins with Ela Dvarim Asher Diber Hashem El Kol Yisrael Be'var HaYarden Bamidbar Ba'arava Mul Yam Suf Bet Ben Paran Uben Tofel Velavan, and so on and so on. This slew of locations. Where were we? It's like, how can you tell in one pasuk a story of 40 years? And we know that the Torah ends Le'nei Kol Yisrael. If you want to think of the Torah starting with Bereshit bara Elokim and ending with Le'nei Kol Yisrael, starting with the story of God creating a world, visual, present, to all of us. I want to close with coming back to our parasha. Masei, Matot-Masei, Masei. These journeys. I want to ask us, where do the journeys leave us? I want to ask us, when we start to think about next week and start thinking about how we're going to tell our story, this Shabbat is a time to pause and to think about our journeys. It was Bereshit bara Elokim, it was the story of creation. That led me to Aron b'Mitzrayim. It led me to a dark place. It led me to a place where there was no life. And I had to ask myself, who am I? Oil Moed. What am I going to receive? Har Sinai. It's my calling. What has been the meaning of our journeys? I think we can't enter into Eretz Yisrael. We can't reap the fruits of our life if we can't pause for a moment and think of all of the places we've been, the journeys we've taken, the names we've been called, the callings we responded to. And to know that when we will enter into Eretz Yisrael next week, God willing, we take all of ourselves with us. We take all of where we've been, and we pause for a minute. Al Yarden Yericho. Wait for a moment. The Erev of Yericho. The eve of. Don't run in. Give yourself a moment to take inventory of who you are, where you've been, so that when you take that next step, you will be able to take all of yourself. You took a moment, you paused at Ovot Moav, Yarden Yericho. You know who you are. You know where you've come from. Shabbat Shalom.